What if the biggest threat to Bitcoin is not hackers, not governments, and not regulation, but physics? What if a form of communication already exists that doesn't rely on passwords, doesn't rely on encryption algorithms, and doesn't even rely on trusting the device you're using? And if it works as described, the entire idea of computational security starts to feel fragile? If that sounds confusing, good. It should, because moments like this usually arrive quietly, long before markets react. Quick introduction. This channel is the Tech Paper Translation Desk. We take recent science and technology papers, translate them into plain language, and ask one simple question. What does this actually mean for systems people already depend on? Today's paper comes from Science, not a blog post, not a white paper, one of the most selective scientific journals in the world. The topic is called Device-Independent Quantum Key Distribution, DI-QKD. And even though this paper never mentions Bitcoin, crypto, or blockchains, it directly challenges the assumption that the entire crypto market is built on. Let's slow down. What is Bitcoin actually secured by? At its core, Bitcoin is protected by a secret number, your private key. And the only reason that private key is safe is because guessing it would take an absurd amount of computation. Not impossible, just impractical. That same logic protects Ethereum, banks, encrypted messaging, HTTPS, almost everything. Modern cryptography is not unbreakable. It's expensive to break, which means crypto security is really a bet that computation stays costly. And this is where I want to pause for a second. If you're holding crypto, or have ever held it, I'm curious. Do you think long-term security should depend on math alone, or on something more fundamental? You don't need to agree with me, just drop your instinct in the comments. I'll come back to this later. Now this is why quantum computing worries the crypto world. A quantum computer isn't just faster, it doesn't play the same game. Algorithms like Shor's algorithm don't slowly weaken encryption, they erase entire categories of it. If large-scale quantum computers arrive, some crypto systems won't fade out. They'll fail suddenly. But here's where today's paper becomes even more unsettling. Because the most disruptive quantum idea is not quantum computing, it's quantum communication. Quantum key distribution doesn't ask, can you solve this math problem? It asks, can you look at this information without leaving evidence? And in quantum physics, that's a dangerous question, because observation is not passive. If you measure a quantum state, you disturb it. That's not philosophy, that's experimental fact. This is the basic idea behind QKD. Cryptographic keys are encoded into quantum states, often individual photons. If someone intercepts them, the states change, and the sender and receiver can detect that interference immediately. No brute force. No decryption, no guessing, just physics. But traditional quantum key distribution has a serious weakness. It assumes the devices are honest, and researchers have shown, again and again, that real-world devices are exactly where systems break. Detectors can be tricked, timing can be manipulated, hardware can lie. So here's the brutal question. What if the device itself is compromised? This is where device-independent quantum key distribution comes in. DI-QKD is built on a radical idea. Trust nothing. Not the manufacturer, not the detector, not even your own hardware. In DI-QKD, devices are treated as black boxes. You don't care how they work. You only care about the statistical patterns they produce. Specifically, whether their outputs violate something called a Bell inequality. You don't need the math. Here's the intuition. Classical physics limits how strongly two systems can be correlated. Quantum systems can exceed that limit. If two devices consistently violate Bell inequalities, there are only two explanations. Either physics is wrong, or those devices share genuine quantum entanglement. And if they're genuinely entangled, no third party can secretly copy that information. Not because it's difficult, because it's forbidden. Let me pause here again. If this kind of security existed today, do you think Bitcoin would eventually need to adapt to it? Or do you think crypto will always stay purely mathematical? There's no right answer. I'm genuinely curious how people think about this. Leave a comment. Now, for years, DI-QKD was purely theoretical, but the science paper we're translating today changes that. The authors demonstrate device-independent quantum key distribution over distances that actually matter, tens of kilometers of real optical fiber, not in perfect lab conditions, with noise, with loss, with imperfect equipment. They describe it carefully as a proof of feasibility, not deployment, not commercialization. And that distinction matters. So when does this become real? Not in theory, in practice. Here's the honest answer most researchers quietly agree on. In the next 5 years, DI-QKD will remain niche. Government networks, national labs, critical infrastructure pilots. Expensive. Invisible to everyday crypto users. In the 5 to 10 year range, something shifts. Hardware improves, photon sources stabilize, detectors get cheaper, and standards begin to form. That's usually the moment security technology stops being exciting and starts being unavoidable. Beyond 10 years, DI-QKD may become part of hybrid systems, not replacing Bitcoin or blockchains, but redefining what secure communication means underneath them. So, no, this does not kill Bitcoin tomorrow, but it does move the ground it stands on. Bitcoin bets on computation. DI-QKD bets on physics. One assumes attackers are limited by time. The other assumes attackers are limited by reality. To break DI-QKD, an attacker has 3 options: intercept the signal and be detected, copy the signal and violate quantum law, fake the outcome, and fail physical tests. Every attack fails before it begins. Not because engineers are clever, but because the universe is strict. Governments understand this. Banks understand this. Military systems understand this. That's why this research is accelerating quietly, outside the crypto spotlight. Cryptocurrencies won't be the first to change. But they won't be immune either. Because once security stops being a mathematical promise and becomes a physical constraint, there's no patch, no fork, no emergency update. You're no longer betting against hackers, you're betting with physics. And physics doesn't care how much Bitcoin you're holding. If this kind of deep paper translation is useful to you, if it helps you see what's coming before it becomes market noise, consider liking the video. And if you want more episodes from the Tech Paper Translation Desk, you might want to subscribe. We'll keep translating the papers long before the headlines catch up.